I'm Ashley, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the comparison video between the Pronto Stroller, the Evenflo Pivot Explorer, and the Babytrend 2-in-1 Expedition Stroller Wagon. I'm going to try and reserve my own opinions and thoughts for the individual reviews on each stroller that I'll be posting, and this video will strictly focus on dimensions, features, and the things that you're going to want to evaluate when deciding what to buy or what's best for your family. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and let's get into it. So I brought all three to this patch of sand by my house, and it has bits of softer sand along with more compact sand, and I was able to try them out there. I will say for the Evenflo that the push mode, it did struggle with because it has no front locking tires, so it didn't have very much control. However, the pull mode did help a lot. I think being able to pull it kind of lifted those smaller front tires up out of the sand and helped it to not get stuck or drag as much. And the Evenflo and the Pronto back tires are actually a 1/2 inch wider than the Babytrend tires, and it helps a lot, I think, with sand navigation. It just gives a little more surface area to go over the top of the sand rather than to dig in. So it was a noticeable difference. Next, I brought out the Babytrend, and right away I noticed that as this is the heaviest of the three, it just felt really burdensome on the sand. It really dug in there, and it was hard to move. The front tires don't lock on this one either, so the push was rough. I didn't do it for very long, and the pull mode was a little bit better, but not enough to make a difference. If I had a choice, I wouldn't bring this to the beach, unfortunately, and I wouldn't recommend it for sand just because of how difficult it was to move. For the Pronto, I think one would naturally assume that because it doesn't have a pull function, it might be more difficult to use on the sand. However, I think the front locking tires actually made a really noticeable difference. Those little bit bigger back tires and the smooth push actually really helped. As you can tell, I jumped in. And although it's not a wagon, I think if I had to choose out of the three to take to the beach, I would actually probably pick the Pronto. Okay, so for reference for these clips, in the last clip I had both of my kids in the wagon, so it was about 65 pounds worth of kids. And in this clip, I only have my youngest, so about 24 pounds worth of kids. But I was still pretty impressed. The grass is a little bit tall here, as nobody's been out mowing it regularly, and it still maneuvered really well. I think in the wagon mode, it was really, really easy. So for outdoor trips, kind of thing, if you're using it in the grass, I would definitely recommend the Evenflo. So on this terrain, the Babytrend definitely fared better. I think the heaviness of it was not an impediment this time. It was maybe it was more of an asset, just in the sense that it was able to pound that grass down and keep it moving. Nothing was going to slow it down. So Babytrend also did pretty well on the grass. Full disclosure, this probably voided my warranty, but I was still under the weight limit, as it is 175 pounds. So my husband was able to push me around in there no problem with my youngest, and Pronto did really well on the grass as well. Pretty similar results to the Babytrend and the Evenflo on this one. So these are the brakes on the Pivot Explorer, and as you can see, there's no bar that connects them, so they are individual brakes. You have to push the left and the right side to brake them individually, and they are not what I would call flip-flop friendly. They don't have like a bar that you would push up or down. It's kind of just like a hard plastic piece that you have to use from the top and from the bottom. So if you see here that it's kind of like that. And then for the Babytrend, it does have a unified brake. So while I would also still not call this flip-flop friendly because of these plastic pegs that you have to kind of dig your foot into to use the brake, it is easier because you don't have to engage each one separately. And then for the Pronto brake system, there's actually no little plastic peg thing at all. It's just a the bar that does a great job braking all of the tires, and it's pretty sturdy. The next few clips are me showing you how hard or how easy it is to go up the curb. With this one, it was particularly annoying. You have to put the brake on because it tends to roll away by itself, so quickly disengaging the brake again, putting it into pull mode, because on push mode there's no bar in the back to use as leverage to hop the curb. So putting it into pull mode, I actually found that the tires kept turning and preventing me from going up the curb. So as far as getting up the curb with the Pivot Explorer, it was a big pain in the butt, unfortunately. Curb hopping with the Babytrend and the Pronto is really easy, as there is a bar that goes across the back that you can easily push on with your foot to help you get up the curb, and then you're on your way. In these clips, I thought it might be helpful to show you how fast and easy it is to fold each one to get into a trunk of a car. I used a Ford Edge because I feel like it's a little bit of a smaller trunk than our other vehicle, which is the Highlander, so it might be more helpful for a variety of vehicles. This one you can see the fold is not very compact, but it is semi-easy to do. There are a few steps to it, but the Evenflo does just fine in the trunk. The thing that I like about the Babytrend fold is that it does fold rather flat, and that's awesome. The downside is that the tires are pretty hard in the front to take off, so it's not easy to do when you're out and about, and it doesn't have an auto lock, so you have to manually lock it and unlock it every time that you fold it. The advantages to the Pronto fold are that it folds very fast with accessories on, and it's very, very flat fold. You can also take off the tires really easily, so if you have a tiny car like I do, I have a Mazda 2, you can go ahead and take the tires off, and it fits in the trunk of some of the smallest cars on the market. And I think for a double that can easily become a triple, that's a pretty special feature, so I would recommend this for small trunks. We made this chart to show you some of the different features and dimensions and things. So you can go ahead and pause this if you want to look and compare, and hopefully this information will be helpful for you. So that was my comparison video between the Pronto, the Evenflo Pivot Explorer, and the Babytrend Expedition 2-in-1 Stroller Wagon Plus. The next two videos that I'm going to be posting on my channel are going to be my personal thoughts and opinions on the Pronto and the Evenflo Stroller Wagon. So if you want to see those, please subscribe and please check them out. I'm going to also be putting timestamps in the description below in case you want to just tune into a specific topic and just revisit that. But I'm also happy to answer any questions. So if you have any thoughts or comments, please leave them down below in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for checking out my channel. So that was my comparison video between the Pronto, the Evenflo Pivot. I forgot the name. I'll just start. Should I just start?
3, 2, 4.
So that was my comparison video between the Pronto, the Evenflo Pivot Explorer, and the Babytrend Expedition 2-in-1 Stroller Wagon Plus. The next video that I already said a million times. Gosh.
This is a mouthful of Expedition 1.
I know, it kills me. Can you stop it now?